It's already recording. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I guess we got to start with a roll call, see who we have here. So we have Gregory Nato, Mr. Mike Kelly, Adam Pollock, and the new members. Yep, please correct me if I mispronounce your name. Janiyah Pearson.
That was close.
Yeah.
You said it with the accent, so that was good.
Okay. And please correct me. Yes.
Yes.
And Teresa Priester.
Yes, you said it correctly.
So I'm going to say on behalf of the IDA, welcome.
Thank
Right?
you. Thank you.
And we look forward if anybody else wants to say welcome. Feel free.
Thank you.
Okay. So then the next is item number 4. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we sent proof of notice for the meeting, and so that was taken care of. All right. Item. Oh yes, please.
You asked us to have a little introduction, and so I, being a good student, I thought I'd read mine because I tend to be a little wordy. So maybe this will skip the ums and the you know what I means. I'm an effective communicator. I know what I wanted to read. So why was I interested in the position? I'll just read that part. I've been a homeowner and a resident in the city of Newburgh since the year 2000. I have been and want to continue to be a conscientious contributor to the betterment of our city. Newburgh has an important and illustrious history, great architecture, and is one of the most attractive and accessible waterfront areas along the Hudson. These resources have immeasurable value, not only to our city but beyond. The city of Newburgh is often perceived through its challenges. I think serving on the IDA board will be an opportunity to uplift the assets of our city and increase our capacity to work collaboratively with both private and public developers to leverage those assets. As a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant, I'm also interested in helping the IDA move forward in designing a comprehensive benefits policy to provide guidance in reviewing pilot requests. I am looking forward to expanding my background in human and community development towards sustainable and human-centered economic development. I think I will learn much about this at this critical and crucial intersection in our lives.
Thank you.
Thank you. I probably should have went first. Okay. Well, as you all know, my name is Teresa. I was born in Brooklyn. I have 3 children, 2 grandchildren. I currently work for UPS for the last 29 years and counting, hopefully to end soon. So I've been living in Newburgh for 35 years. I've seen what Newburgh was. I've seen what Newburgh is today, and I see what it's becoming. I see a great change coming to Newburgh. Okay? My goal is to contribute to Newburgh with job opportunities which are fitting for this community, while at the same time helping make decisions which will provide long-term financial benefits for the city of Newburgh. I am very grateful for this opportunity to be involved in the future growth of Newburgh, and I thank God for the opportunities to be part of the transformation that this city is going to transform into. I also thank God for the opportunity to serve His people and this community. I thank you all for giving me the chance for the opportunity to serve our community. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and again, welcome. So then we can move on to item number 4, which is the reading and approval of the minutes from the previous meeting from March 15th. Does anybody have anything to add, or do we want to move to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All right, everybody say aye, or what's the terminology here, exact terminology? Who? There's a, yeah, so yeah. Growing. Yeah. Right. All right.
Aye.
Okay, so motion approved. These are growing pains, people. Please. We'll get better.
I know, you're doing awesome.
All right, so then on to the Treasury's report, which in this case, given the quick sudden changes and availability of the current Treasurer, Adam Pollack, I'm going to do this, I would believe, maybe this will be my final.
Thank you.
All right. So the operating balance started at $377,567 with 25 cents. A total deposit amount of $13,803 with 27 cents. This is money coming in. Then we had check number 1035 to check number 1045, payable, paid to, or made to, a total of $13,379 with 95 cents, closing the balance at $377,990 with 57 cents. The application funds staying the same at $14,137 with 50 cents. The tenant account staying the same at $2,400. The money market account went from $750,830 with 21 cents, increased by $63.77 to the amount closing of $750,893 with 98 cents. So there's two motions, one to approve the treasurer's report and then to also make a motion to pay the bills. So do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the report.
Second.
All right. So then, again, just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, so motion approved. Then we need another motion to pay the bills.
I'll move to pay the bills.
All right.
I second.
Okay. So then, does everybody, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. So that's both the approval of the treasurer's report and to pay the bill. Okay, so for the chairman's report, I don't have a whole lot. I do have a few quick notes that I made. We actually we were reached out by Kelly Pressler regarding if you guys remember, we had, I believe, I think we could speak to this in this. Right. So this was actually discussed in private. Yeah, this matter was discussed in private. So then we would probably have to make a move to move to executive session. But before we do that, right, I also want to note that Mike Kelly and I have been trying to coordinate a meeting date with the council. So far, it was set for May 5th. And basically, it's something that we have discussed in the past, that we were going to try and make more of a effort to communicate and have a good line of communication with the council. So that's something that Mike Kelly and I are working on. I believe we have, for 191 Washington Street today, do we have a refresher on that? Is that, okay, great. Right, all right, so then that's something that we're gonna get to.
So do you want to jump old and new business and then see if we want to go into exec at the end?
So these are the updates, then we do have to move into executive session for the council's, yes. Yes, okay. Okay, all right, we can do that. So that's it so far until we move on to the next items from my report. So then that's item number 7. We have council's report.
Thank you. Good evening again to everyone. Just a couple updates on 5 Scobie Drive. We're here. I did meet with City Council, Jeremy Kaufman, before this meeting, talk about some maps that we need to adjust as part of the Brownfield Cleanup Amendment that DEC will finally, I think, approve. Just by way of visual, there was in 2013 a contract that included, and you've seen this before, included this little triangle piece at the bottom as part of the Brownfield Cleanup Agreement. That little track here is owned by the city of Newburgh. This is their landfill. This is your property. That was included because the then purchaser needed it for zoning and density purposes. That contract never went through, was never concluded, and so is a nullity, but it does need to come out of the BCA, the Brownfield Cleanup Agreement. The Buyers Council did pick this up. It's a little uncertain at this point what exactly the city is going to have to consent to, but it'll be some sort of approval that that parcel remains in the ownership of the city, which it still does. We also prepared at the request of the buyers a license agreement to allow them to have access over the property, and it's with their council, and we expect, I don't know if they want to add, do you have any idea when DEC will open up the BCA? I'm not sure about that. So I think the BCA will be revised within the next 3 months, sometime this quarter. And then our next step is to then amend the contract of sale from 2 years ago and establish those new benchmark dates. But I haven't wanted to do that until we actually have the Brownfield Cleanup Agreement opened by DEC. So I'm happy to explain that separately to you guys after the meetings to bring you up to speed on that. Okay. The Foundry, I do have a revision to the Uniform Project Benefit Agreement. There were some errors that we found as part of that closing, and so I just amended and restated that agreement. And Marlon, if you could stay afterward, I'll have you re-sign those documents. I'm trying to finalize the transcript on that. And then have not heard on anything on 104 Washington, so I don't know where Philippe is. And that.
You're coming down tomorrow morning.
Huh?
Ricks are coming down tomorrow morning.
Well, it would be nice if they came to get the benefits. But that's it. That's all I have.
Can I ask one quick
Sure.
question about the opening of the BCA? Does that mean that the city, the DEC will fund the cleanup? Or does the city fund, who funds the cleanup?
The potential buyers, so that, they're here for another project tonight, but they signed the contract 2 years ago to purchase 5 Scobie Drive. That had a Brownfield Cleanup Agreement previously as far back as 2013.
I remember
So they will fund the cleanup. We are a party to the Brownfield Cleanup Agreement. The IDA is a party to the Brownfield Cleanup Agreement because we are the property owner. We have no liability to clean it up. We have no liability, period, okay? I think the history has been that this was city-owned property that was deeded to the IDA at some point 25 years ago, at least, okay? And the IDA has been trying to sell it since. There's been some delay in DEC not being able to get access to the property because there are existing wells on the property to monitor groundwater contamination. DEC the local region needed to get into the property, could not do it didn't do it in the summer because there was too much growth. Didn't do it in the winter because there was too much snow, but has recently been able to do it and get to those wells. And after that, we'll now revise the BCA to allow the new owner, the new purchaser, to substitute in for the old purchaser. And that contract was 9 years ago, never went anywhere.
Thank you. Clear.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so that's it for the council's report, so then we can move up to item number 8, Executive Director's Report.
Okay, so as you know, we had the RFP out this month for the sidewalks, and we didn't get any response, which council thought was quite unusual. So we tried to think, what can we do differently this time around? Sending out an RFP. I mean, not Bob, our other council. And so we discussed the possibility of looking for the engineer's report again, only because the scope of work is actually a lot smaller than what initially was thought after I updated you all on the conversation that I had with the code enforcer, the code officer. It's actually not as large as we thought, and so perhaps the amount of money needed to do that survey is not as much. So I'm going to get some quotes and see how much that would cost. Perhaps that would make the project a little bit more simpler in trying to request an RFP for the sidewalk repairs. Paris was submitted, so the annual report for the IDA was submitted as well. I just want to mention, I don't know if this needs to be updated formally, but the the RFP that we had for the monitoring service for the labor policy wasn't published until last week when I came back. The original date on it was for back in March. So the RFP period will end May 19th. It was originally set to end April. Just so you know, it's on the website, and I'm trying to contact firms that would be interested in applying. And so I don't think we need to change anything specifically for the new date, right? Yeah, so that RFP is currently on our website.
So did you change the RFP itself to the due dates?
Yes, like I changed the dates, nothing else within it, but yeah. And that's on our website. And that's all I have for now pertaining to this. I do have something else under new business.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if you're already doing this. Can you reach out to DPW to see who they've subcontracted out to for different sidewalk repairs? And maybe they could just be automatically CC'd to those RFPs, and you're already doing that.
So I asked who has applied to the previous sidewalk repairs to the city's RFP. I have a list of those 3 contractors, and they're the ones that I continuously reach out to. So
And would it be pragmatic moving forward to, not just with repair projects like that, but with all of our RFPs, to maybe establish like a sort of database of previous applicants, and at least they'll be automatically attached to those announcements?
sure. I just hope that we never have to do sidewalks like that's a
Well, that's what I
special
mean.
thing,
Yeah,
you know.
outside of sidewalks, but like all our
You know, if there's something that we continually need, you know, like for example, auditors or banks or whatever, you know, and that, then yeah, we usually create like I usually rely off of a database that's already established from somebody else, and we try and do it that way. And when in doubt, we go to the city or ask professionals in that field who they would recommend to make it easier instead of having to scrape to find
Yeah,
someone.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
All right. Sure, you're all set?
Yep, I'm all set.
Okay. All right, so then we can move on to item, does anybody have any questions before we move on to anything? Okay, all right, so then we can move on to item number 9, which is new business. So, let's start with the committee nominations. I guess we're gonna,
Sure, so I'll help you out here with this. So you all have a copy of our current board, and you have a copy of the office held. And I think at the last board meeting, it was for that time, right? We want to officially set the positions that all of you will hold. The Audit Finance Committee already has 3 members. Our Governance Committee, I think Mike is on the Governance Committee. We need 2 more members for the Governance Committee. So, yeah, I guess we need a chair for the Governance Committee. Marlon is the chair of the the Audit Finance Committee. I'm not sure if you want to switch over to governance, being that you are the chair of the board, but that's what we have open. So we need 2 members for the Governance Committee, and then if the Audit Finance stays the same, then we're set there.
right. Okay, so, if this is open for discussion now, I'm gonna say for me, I would rather shift to the, give, or ask Adam, see if he wants to actually work on the, audit committee. And then I move on to the governance committee. That would kind of fall within what we already would be doing anyways,
Sure.
but that's something that you'd be,
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. If
You're-
everyone is, seems to make sense.
right? And you've been part of the audit committee so far, so you understand what that is like with me, you, and
Chrissy.
Chrissy. So it's just
Okay.
suggestions.
Okay, so do we have anyone else that wants to be a part of the Audit Finance Committee? I know that's something that you 2 are new, and that's not something generally a new board member would be a part of.
Finance, no.
Okay. Okay.
You still need another member for the governance?
We do need we need 1 other governance committee member.
Is there anything pressing in that work right now?
No, so at least the board meets at least twice a year, ideally, usually annually at the bare minimum, to discuss the readoption of the policies around this February, March, April time period. So that we've already come out of that. If we would meet again, it might be towards the end of the year. It's not something that you are committing to that's going to take up a lot of extra time. Sometimes it can even be met before this board meeting, and it's just usually reviewing the policies, so making any suggestions, and then recommending those suggestions to the general board for the entire board to adopt.
So the one area that the governance committee will have to review is the change from the budget that allows for the video conferencing to continue for the next 4 years. It is subject to the Committee on Open Government making recommendations on guidance as to how that's supposed to get done, and then the board will have to adopt its own policy on and regulation, or policy and guidance as to how you will conduct meetings by video conference, if, as, and when the need arises. So if there's another, God forbid, shutdown at the end of this year, or early next year, or if it's prudent not to meet in person but to meet remotely because of weather, because of other issues, you will have a policy that the governance committee will have to approve, recommend to the board, and then going forward you can do meetings by video conference and arrange for, like tonight, one of the board members is not feeling well, that person could participate by video conference under the new law for the next 4 years. So that would be a pressing matter.
You jumping on that? I'll serve on that committee then.
Governance? Okay.
Come on in.
Is it free coffee?
Could arrange that.
All right, and so we're just missing, there's 7, but usually each committee has at least 3, so, yeah, okay, so we just need one more person for the audit, finance, and you said you're not good with numbers, so then if Gregory doesn't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm just going to make the suggestion then that this committee does need a chair. I'm assuming that would be between either you or Adam. Chrissy's not here today, so if you want, we can make it Adam since you've already been on that committee, and then if a conversation changes over the next month and Chrissy feels that she could fulfill that role, I would like to have her in that conversation, and we can make that change at the following meeting.
Yeah, it's fine. If it's prudent to do something right now, so we fill the slot, then
Okay.
I'm fine with that. And if something in our conversations over the next month or so, the decision made to change it, then we'll bring it here and let it change.
Okay.
But yeah, that's fine with me.
Thank you. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, since we have,
Before you do that,
sorry,
if you could make a motion to approve the members of the governance committee and then approve the members of the finance committee.
separate motions?
You could do it all at once.
Oh, okay, then there you go.
Okay, and now, do I have to actually, I didn't keep track of, do we have the list of the people that are here?
I'll list it again. So the members of the Audit Finance Committee now as stands would be Christina Amato, Adam Pollock would be chair, and Gregory Nato would be the third member. For the governance, sorry? Oh, okay. For the governance committee, the chair would be Marlon Ramos, and then Michael Kelly and Yania Pearson.
Right.
Need a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to make those changes.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
The other change is just that now that the 2 signatures that we had for the bank are no longer with us. So usually with our bank, we have at least 4. Adam and Marlon are already allowed to sign checks, so we need 2 more. If the other 2 more senior members that we have are agreeable to that, then basically,
I'm happy to do it. It's fine.
okay.
Yep.
So we'll take care of that at the end. Do we need to do anything that would change that? Who's allowed to sign? Yes, okay.
All right.
Okay, so should we make, you can do that, I'm sorry, like I know there's a way for you to adjust that because we don't have the actual resolution.
No, just
Okay.
a voice resolution.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so-
Making a resolution to appoint Mike Kelly and Greg Nato as additional signatures on the bank account to the agency.
all right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Oh,
1.
oh, we need a second, that's right.
I'll second. It's a roll call, right?
That is roll call, okay.
Okay, Gregory Nato,
Aye.
Michael Kelly,
Yes.
Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Yania Pearson,
Yes.
and Teresa Priester.
Yes.
Sorry, am I saying it? Yeah, because you're PP, so I'm going to get confused. Sorry.
Priester.
And then Christina Amato is absent. And that's all I have for new things under committee nominations.
Okay. And then, so now we move on to Resolution 2022-041-801, which is to hold a public hearing regarding the proposed project by Global Genesis Holdings for 120 Grand Street. So, public hearing, we should have them for the projects that are bigger than 100,000, I believe. in
Public benefit.
the public benefit.
If the financial assistance
That's good.
Okay,
more than 100,000.
that's right.
So this application only for sales tax exemption. And I believe it totals
It was 166, but okay.
Okay, yep.
Do we know where they are in terms of this application, not just here, but with planning, development, zoning, any of that?
Getting his approvals, I don't know if I have copies. It is 166.
166, okay.
Happy to update you though, like if you want me to, or if you have any questions pertaining to that, then, please let me know.
No, it's just something we've been doing on planning board now for a little while, which I think is to the benefit of the applicants. If there's a mandatory public hearing in one of the boards, we'll waive it where it's not mandatory in order to just be prudent with everyone's time. So, not that it applies here, but I was just curious.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any, I don't have anything you can quote me on, but I know he's working on all of that. So, but I'll just reinstate this because I know sometimes I look at this a lot more than you do. So again, this is for 120 Grand Street, which is also known as the City Club, who applied with the city for the RFP to develop the site. You all received a copy of their application for your review, and because he's only looking for a sales tax exemption, that would be greater than $100,000. This is for a public hearing, so that the public can comment on that. So this is just the very first step in the pipeline.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I second.
All right. Now we're gonna need a roll call on this.
Yep. Marlon Ramos.
Yes.
Christina Amato is absent. Michael Kelly.
Yes.
Adam Pollack.
Yes.
Gregory Nato.
Yes.
Teresa Priester.
Yes.
Robin Yanya Pearson.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so then the next item here under new business is 191 Washington Street.
Excuse me for just a moment.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Schoolhouse.
Everybody have one? Okay. Just gonna wait for Mr. Kelly to return.
Sure.
Sure. All right, whenever you're ready.
Great.
There's a new, as you saw, we have a few new members, so it'd be nice to just do a quick introduction.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for having us tonight. So yeah, one part of the reason we came back here is to introduce ourselves to the new members. So Sisha Ortuzar. I am I'll just do a quick intro of me, but like my background is in hospitality, but I'm transitioned into development through my career in hospitality. I used to cook, but then transitioned into building restaurants, and that kind of led me to what I'm doing now, which is projects of mixed use. And I've completed one project here in Newburgh, which is known as Wireworks, which is 109 South William Street. And currently working on this exciting new project with my partner here.
And I'm Eric Cooney. My career is not as long or as impressive as Sisha's yet, but I've done a few smaller projects in the city, and aspiring to do something mixed use and of like a greater scale, like Wireworks, and excited to be teaming up with Sisha, and I think we have a pretty exciting project ahead of us.
So we were here in October doing something very similar to what we're doing tonight, just basically introducing the project. At that time, we decided to hold off on submitting an application, variety of reasons, but part of that is that we were also going through the zoning board process, and there was some important variances that we needed for this project that we're waiting to get an answer on that, because that would really inform the scope of the project, so which obviously translates to like the economics. So we wanted to sort that out first, and we've done that, and now we are ready to get going. So we've submitted last week. We submitted formally submitted the application, and so today is really just kind of just give you a brief introduction to the project. So the property is at 191 Washington, which is, you might know as the Washington Kindergarten School. It's at Washington and William. It currently is just the building and a parking structure next to it. And then through this little deck here, we kind of laid out a little bit of the history of the school. So as far as we know, this has always been a school, at least since this has been a city. The original structure is not the one that's there today. There's a previous one. So the structure today is from 1958. We are actually very, very excited about this particular structure. There's not a whole lot of mid-century modern architecture in Newburgh, other than the library and a couple other things, but these are, the most significant. We feel this is, funnily enough, it's not, the building's in the historic district, but it's not part of the register. However, so we think it's a very significant, historically significant building from a different time than most of the buildings here in Newburgh, 58, but the building was designed by a firm called Perkins & Will, which is a very well-known architectural firm at the time. Where they were doing a lot of schools and municipal projects. They're still around.
And yeah, I mean, just to add one thing, because, it's been a school for a couple hundred years, it's been off the tax rolls for just as long as well.
Yeah,
and we'd be returning it onto the tax rolls.
Correct. So we, so the plan for the projects, it's at the beginning, it's a mixed-use project, similar to what we've done before, and the reason for that is there's a couple, from I guess from our development approach is that we believe that mixed use is a good thing to do in an urban environment as opposed to just a dormitory, a building with apartments. We feel that commercial space, whether it's retail, restaurant, office, whatever it is, adds to the fabric of what it is, what it means to live in a city. We have a little bit of, I guess concern is not the right word, but we don't think it's a good idea to just develop housing and nothing else. At some point, what is everybody going to do? So because of that, we've come up with a plan that that does that, and in essence, the project is going to be a mixture of residential, so we have 70 units, from 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, and about 15,000 square feet of commercial space. So the the existing building, the school, the classrooms, the old classrooms, so those will be apartments, and the front part of that is the auditorium. The plan is that would become a brewery, and it's that wouldn't be done by us. We have they would be our tenants. So this is somebody that we've been working with for a long time. It's a mom and pop type of thing. It's not even a microbrewery. It's actually based on the production. It's categorized as a nano brewery. So very small production, but they would also have a tasting room. So similar to what Newburgh Brewing does, but at a smaller scale. And then the rest of the plan includes in what today is the parking lot, 2 new buildings. And these would be 5-story buildings. There's through this deck, there's some renderings of it. So the reason these are 2 buildings and not 1, it's because we, in our design team, felt that it was a much better way of fitting into the neighborhood with the type of density that we need for this project. So by breaking it up into little blocks, we kind of create a little bit of a neighborhood within the block. So the 2 buildings, between the 2 buildings and the existing building, it forms a little bit of like an interior park. And this is a green area that will be open to the public, so it's not gated. It's just part of the environment. So it kind of creates a pedestrian avenue through the property. And those buildings would be commercial on the first floor and residential above it. Tenants for that are not yet determined. So, but it would be likely mix of retail and an office or light manufacturing or anything that would be an approved use there. And part of the reason we're so excited about this project and what we're doing here is because of William Street and the potential that we see with that street in terms of commercial activity. So Liberty Street is known as the street where things are happening, where there's a lot of there's businesses going on, which is great. It's a beautiful street with some great restaurants, and but it's limited. It's only a couple blocks long, the part that has commercial spaces, right? Where William Street is a long street that has a lot of commercial potential. There's a lot of storefronts that right now some of them are not occupied. So by doing commercial, retail and commercial on the street, and mainly on William Street, we hope that others will be encouraged to keep moving down the street and hopefully return William Street to a busy commercial corridor like it's been in the past. Let's see. So there's, as you can see, there's some renderings of this is the look. So we haven't gone through the planning board or ARC yet, but we did get through CBA. So we did request some variances from zoning board, which they were granted. In terms of one of them was the height. So the zoning for the area is 4 floors, and we needed to do 5. And the other one's the setbacks and density, as well as parking. So the board agreed that what we were asking for made sense, and because of the design of the building, and this is something that, as you can see, there's design-wise, we did something to minimize the impact of the structures in the neighborhood and blend into the neighborhood, and a lot more of this will be. We'll go into a lot more detail of this when we go in front of ARC, but the design is it's a lot of references to existing buildings. So, for instance, on the brick part, the size of the windows and spacing of the windows is all based on existing buildings in the neighborhood. And even like the top part, which is glass and metal, that's a reference to the siding on not the siding, the window sides on the existing building with the
Where the classrooms
with the classrooms are, which
And you'll see that a couple of pages later where the rendering is.
Actually,
for-
no, it's before. So on page, oh, sorry, no, you're right. No, but what I went, so on the second page, there's a little rendering, like a pencil drawing. That was the original design from 1957. That's not what it looks like right now. The windows have been changed, but this is where we took inspiration for what the new side of the building would look like, but also the higher floors on the new buildings.
And you'll kind of see on this page that will, return the window system to its former glory, and that's where we're drawing inspiration from on the two new buildings on the top levels.
Yeah. So, the reason we are here today is obviously, in order to get this done, we need some assistance from the agency in the form of sales tax and mortgage recording tax, but also a pilot. We believe that this project uniquely qualifies for something of that nature because of the potential economic impact that would have. So, in addition to the construction jobs that comes with a project like this, the brewery will also generate a good amount of good stable jobs that they're in all of this is detailed in the application in terms of like how it would ramp up from year 1 through year 5 and how that grows. And so, in addition to the jobs created at the site, we believe that the economic impact that this could have by kickstarting more commercial activity on William Street could be meaningful and significant to the area. We have a little kind of like by the number sheet here, just to kind of give you a scope and idea of the project. So it's not a small project. As you can see, these are all kind of approximate numbers at the moment as we still continue to work on the design. And we've just completed our geotech testing to do our structural design for the foundation of these buildings. But as mentioned before, there will be 70 apartments, 12 in the existing building, and 58 split out of the other two. Now, when we came in October to present this project, the projected cost of this project was $22 million. And since then, the scope of the project hasn't changed; it's the same, but the cost has gone up by $3.5 million, and that is just a function of the cost of construction today. So that is, it's actually something that we're dealing with and trying to figure out how to make this work. Even before this, when we came in October, this project really needed to have a pilot in place to make it work and get it financed. That's even more so today. It's still, we still want to do this project, but it's to the point where we need to do some work to get it through the finish line in terms of getting it started. This is going to be financed through like a traditional mortgage, so we need to be able to make the numbers work so the bank will finance it. We think that we can, but in order for this to work, we clearly need your help with it. And we're hoping that the impact that a project like this would have in terms of economic impact, but also just by getting activity going in that neighborhood, and hopefully others following suit will make it worth it. So
just to be blunt, like without the pilot, I mean, this project just will not happen. It just won't.
And that's not just to say it, and it really doesn't. And we can, as we go through the process of the application, I'm sure we'll get, go look into the numbers and you'll see. But without it, there's just no, it won't happen. We own the property, so we're going to do something with it. But in order to do the plant, what we're thinking of doing, we need the scale and we need the project, we need the scope of the project. So to give you an example, so the brewery it's our anchor tenant, right? So, and they are a very important part of the project because we hope that they will attract other tenants, but they're going to create a good number of jobs. If we can't do the project as designed as a whole, we can't afford to do the brewery because we're subsidizing basically the construction of the brewery. The brewery tenants cannot build this brewery for themselves. So if we're not able to do the project at the scope that we're planning on, we're going to have to do something with the property, but it cannot be this. We're not going to be able to shrink this project because it just doesn't work. So it will probably be something a little less exciting, like something along the lines of storage or commercial parking or something like that, which we're not excited about, but that's just the reality. You know, like if this doesn't work, we have to do something with it. So give you a quick update on where we are. I'm going to mention some of this, but we purchased this from the school district back in finalized in February. It's been a long time coming. We finished schematic designs of the new buildings, which is just like the general idea of what's happening. Now we're working on design development to get to construction documents, and we are also working on schematic of the existing the school building to do the as planned. We've been attending workshops with the planning board, and we're not ready to go to the next one. We're probably going to be the one after that to present the project. I mean, they're familiar with the project, but to present it formally and with our application. Same thing with the ARC. We'll probably do those two in tandem, and we'll kind of see how the timing works with that. We're also in touch with other entities like Transportation Advisory Commission, this is a big project that we realize will have an effect on things like parking and traffic and bus stops and things like that. So we plan to work with them in the city to maximize the potential of this area or the impact of this building in the area. So that's an ongoing conversation. We've completed environmental testing, so phase 1's completed, no major issues found other than your garden variety, Newburgh tanks and things like that, all been taken care of. We are in a ongoing effort of community outreach, which will continue as this goes on. And same thing with financing. We have what we hope is going to be our partner in this, which is CPC, which you're probably familiar with. They're very strong in Newburgh. That's who financed Wireworks. But that commitment is contingent on a pilot in place. As you'll see in the application, we submitted also a benefit cost assessment report, which I think it paints a good picture of the impact and what the city would get in return, or for the support that we would get through the pilot. We hope that you'll see that as a compelling case. The pilot that we are requesting is a deviation from the UTEP, so you'll see that outlined as well. And then there's like a little bit about us, if you want to know. So the development team is this right here. We have other members of the team who are partners in different ways. So the design team is Mapos Architecture, who is the designer of Wireworks. They were also the development partners. In this case, they're not development partners, but they are the designers. And the same thing with the construction management team, which is Baxter. So they are going to be the builders of this, but again, not a development partner. And then we have some information about Snowfall. So Snowfall is the brewer who will be opening in the school. This is not a relocation. They don't have an existing brewery. This will be their first brewery. So we're taking a big risk here, but we believe very much in this team, Nate and Sylvia. So they are they still have day jobs. They work very hard, and they've been home brewing for some time. They've won all sorts of competitions. Their beer is really good. But more than anything, we are really impressed with their business savvy, their planning, their marketing is great, and we believe in them. So we're going to make this happen for them, and I think they're going to be great partners for us and a great addition to the city. You might have met them or heard of them. They've been trying to do something in Newburgh for a long time, and this, I think this is a great match for us. So,
additionally, they have no full-time employees now, so the 15 full-time jobs that they're going to create will all be it's going from 0 to 15 basically, and we expect them to, obviously prioritize hiring locally.
May I ask you a couple of questions about
Yep.
that?
Yeah.
So, as a tenant with no current full-time employees, no brewery of their own in a commercial space, you're tying your application presumably to these job numbers. Do you feel comfortable tying these numbers to your application to somebody who does not operate a brewery and has not operated one yet?
No, we realize that's a risk. We're taking a substantial risk here, not only in that sense, also in the financially. But yes, we realize that we are tying into something that doesn't currently operate. Yeah,
And also that in the event that is not the case, these benefits would be recaptured.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, maybe to give more context, and obviously that's what we're, trusting these guys being accurate in their estimation, but they've been homebrewing for over 10 years, I think, and this is kind of I'd say 10 years in the making. They've done a ton of research and I think are pretty well connected within the industry, and they've done, I think we trust they've done accurate due diligence for sure.
Yeah. But also, I'd like to mention that this is an important component of the project, but it's not the only thing, right? So we believe that what they're going to do here is going to be important, and then the jobs they're going to create are going to be important. But we're not tying the whole, the whole project to this. We believe that the project is larger than that, and that the benefits will come from other aspects of the project as well.
And with the numbers that you're presenting, you're essentially saying 30 to 35 full-time jobs beyond the 75 temporary construction jobs. Does that sound roundabout correct?
So those job estimations include
your other vendors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and tenants, right? So those are estimates because we don't know who these tenants are going to be. So we're using some numbers based on square foot, like just standard numbers for retail by square footage of the number of employees. Yeah. There will be a project of this size. There will be some on-site property management, and so there'll be some building jobs as well.
Obviously, that your application is not finalized at all. Sorry, I'm just going to sort of jump in here and riff if nobody minds. There's been this pattern of applicants coming in here saying that their odds of getting a job done is contingent with a pilot program. That is becoming a very distasteful thing to hear in this board, I would say, at least for me. And no lender in their right mind is going to provide us with any sort of documentation that actually says that. We've learned that. So I think it's important that any applicant, not just yourself, be able to talk about the scope of the project without the pilot. What can you do without it? And also be realistic about what we can provide in terms of benefits. And specifically with your project, back of the napkin math here, 20% of it's commercial. Are we going to deviate from a policy that doesn't necessarily check all the boxes with your application and extend a pilot by 50% of what we normally would do for this application with job numbers that, I'm not really sure about these job numbers. I think they're high, actually. But, I just think you guys should consider that, especially the length of the pilot and the deviation for a 20% commercial space. Okay? That's just me. Just saying.
Noted.
Can I ask some questions too? Couple of things. I'm trying to, you said earlier that you want to anchor the project in Snowfall, which could be in that area pretty exciting and enticing for people to want to live there and come there. And the alternatives that you mentioned were nowhere near as sexy, like storage, nowhere near as sexy. And so the question that I have is, at what point will you, what's your criteria for changing your plan, if you have to, because I understand that you're anchoring it in this. Also, when you started out, we're in a way different place now in terms of costs of the project. That's a really big jump that you weren't expecting, and still the economy is still kind of shaky. Hopefully it'll come down, it'll calm down. But so when you're thinking about this particular partner and you're looking at this is who we want, this is where we're going to stay, we don't think we can do this. What is the criteria that you're looking at in terms of making that type of a decision?
I mean, Mike might not like this answer, but it's really the pilot.
I don't have a like or dislike. I just,
It really is the pilot, and I don't know if we can show you our Excel spreadsheet, but I mean, it's razor thin. So the pilot really, it comes down to getting the pilot, I would say.
So the pilot the pilot is what will anchor this major partner in the project.
It'll determine whether or not we can do the project. And
okay, do it at all.
if we can't, get the pilot we're requesting, we won't be able to do, ground up construction across the 2 new buildings. And if we can't do that, then we aren't able to, build this brewery out for this tenant. And we'll probably end up just doing something like converting the 12 classrooms to apartments and then making, maybe the rest of the auditorium into storage, or maybe more apartments or something like that.
Yeah,
But,
the building-
without the pilot, the project completely changes.
Okay. Have you also kind of projected what the range of rent will be? I think maybe somebody asked a question like that, but how much do you think the apartments will need to cost in order for it to satisfy your projections? What are?
So that's an ongoing, the answer to that question is it's an ongoing exercise, because when we initially did this, it was based on what it would cost to build this 6 months ago. It's very different now. That being said, just because construction costs go like this doesn't mean that rents do. So we are working to figure out what the right numbers is for this to work. At the same time, we need to have it occupied, so it needs to rent. So the rent number has to be the right numbers. But it would be something that you would expect to see in the market. So ultimately, it would be market rents.
But also, if you have the attractability of that location, the brewery is also a part of that, right? So what you put in the commercial business will also attract people who want to live there,
of course,
and therefore be willing to pay whatever.
Yeah. So it's what's complex. It's all tied in. So the challenges that we're facing. It's a very the property itself, the location is very compelling, is very exciting. But some of the things that make it exciting also make it challenging. So the school building, right? Mm-hmm. It has this, half of the building is this really cool room like this. It's an auditorium. It's really great, and it has a lot of light. But what do you do with that? There's not a whole lot of things you can do with a space like that. So it, there's certain uses that would work, and the brewery just happens to be one because they need, really high ceilings for the tanks. So that works. And we refer to them as an anchor tenant. It's not necessarily like this is an anchor to the project. It's an anchor to the retail portion of it, right?
Right.
So the retail portion it's part of it. The other aspect of this, which is really challenging for us, is that I don't know the percentage, but it's probably 70% or something like that of this project is new construction, which is extremely expensive. Because we have to, we're also dealing with a property that is on grade. So we have to dig down for the foundations for this, and obviously, of course, there's water underneath there. So unfortunately, the cost of building something like that is way more expensive than what it is to renovate something. So that's our problem. That's part of what the project is, but it's one of the parts that makes it very challenging. So in order for all of these things to work, in order to be able to afford the cost of that construction and to build the brewery and all those components, we need the scope, the scale, right? And the pilot. So there's not a lot of gradation. So it's either like we can do this big thing, or we're just going to have to do the small thing with what we have, which means no new construction. That's like the biggest driver of the cost. So, like we said before, we're going to do something. We got to do something. What we hope is this. Does that answer your question? You had a lot of comments in there, so I make sure that I address all of them.
Yeah, it does, and I'm just coming on. There's a whole lot about what you're doing that is new to me in terms of understanding it, but I'll just give you my concern for you is that if you are doing, if the most exciting part of the project to yourselves and also to the community is what you put in a commercial space, and you can't do that commercial space the way you want to unless you get the pilot, then it leaves you with, will you be able to sort of fulfill your own vision with the pilot or without the pilot? So what else? Because the pilot will help tremendously, but there's so many other things that you'll have to put together in order for the project to be affordable, right? Mm-hmm. So my concern is it's almost, in my mind, and I'm brand new, so I don't know any of the rules about what you share here, but in my mind, it's almost like the more you need the project, the less confident some folks might be that you can do the project with or without the pilot. The more you need the pilot, the more questions about whether or not you can afford it at all.
There's no question. Without the pilot, we cannot afford it. We
Right.
can afford a project, just not this project. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to abandon the property. We're going to do something with it.
You're going to do something with it.
Yeah, we have to.
Right.
We own it.
But the great thing you want to do with it,
Yes.
the attractive, appealing thing that you want to do with it, needs the pilot plus some other good things falling into place, right?
Yes, but that's what this is. That's the work that we do, right? It's a lot of components coming into place. It's not easy. You're correct to shine a light on that. This is a very difficult thing to do. We don't take it lightly, for sure. And we feel confidence in our ability because of the people that we're working with. Admittedly, the chance that we're taking with an unknown entity as a brewery, it's a big one. But we feel that we have the experience within our team to pull something like this off, and also not just like the development team, but the team that we're working with in terms of construction management and design. And I think we've shown that we've done that.
Thank you.
Past projects are evidence of that. That's not my concern aesthetically. I think it's a great solution for this space. Sorry. aesthetically, the solutions that you've come up with for the site is exciting and compelling. It checks all the boxes for outdoor space and community space. I lost my train of thought.
Uh-oh.
There's a but coming.
Yeah, no but. There's no but. Aesthetically, it's a win for, it's just, I think the proportions of commercial to residential are the thing that has me a little bit concerned.
You mean there's not enough commercial? Or too much?
Yeah, I mean, the ratio of commercial to residential seems a little bit off balance.
Can I jump in with you, Greg?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, to your point, Eric, it's not whether I like it or not. I think any reasonable person will like what you're presenting here tonight, but we have a responsibility with these benefits, and if your project is 20% commercial and only checks 20% of our boxes for being a project that we can approve, then the numbers supplied to this pilot should reflect that. So, that's for you guys to figure out, obviously, but keep that in mind.
No, of course, understood. I mean, another way, look, the whole thing is commercial, right? It's commercial residential.
The whole thing is not commercial.
Okay, but
I understand what you're saying,
yeah.
but for our perspective and being responsible, the whole thing is not commercial. It's 20% commercial.
Okay. How would you categorize other projects that have come before us?
I'm sorry?
How would you categorize other projects that have come before us?
Well, there's certainly a consideration of precedent of any municipal board, but not all projects are the same. There's unique standards for everything that comes across the desk, of course. But we're not going to make it a policy to discuss every applicant in relation to a previous applicant, because we never get anything done.
Right. If I would just add something here, it really comes down to the jobs creation for us. There are projects that we've, worked on or have approved, but our number one goal is to increase the jobs in the area. So a lot of what we're talking about kind of circles back to the use of this space that maximizes this particular use for the benefits that we provide. I think there's some great points that have been raised today, and I invite anybody else to add and ask questions since we have them here. But that's the number one thing that we would focus on.
So I don't know the right way to pose this, but what we would ask the board to consider in terms of economic impact and job creation is there's a halo effect to this, and I understand that that's hard to quantify and for us in maybe not our place to take credit for, but so beyond the jobs and economic activity that we created by this, we believe that this will have an effect in the area, in the whole area, and that we hope will have a bigger impact even beyond the ability of this one project to accomplish.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard to imagine what this project could do to William Street. It'll make other business owners much more likely to open another business next door or the block down. We think it is really transformative commercially.
Yeah, we think, if we build this, I think you have a much, much different effect than if we have another car yard or taxi section like there is across the street. Like that could happen to the same. I don't think that moves the needle for the neighborhood.
So another thing, the jobs, and given that this would be your tenant, how would you be ensuring that they are prioritizing the local community for the jobs? Since going back to what Mike Kelly said, that your benefits would hinge on how successful your tenant would be and how they manage their business.
Well, I just want to be clear, like, we're not staking our whole claim and future here on on how well or their success. They're a component of it, but this is a bigger project than just them. They are a part of it, of course. In terms of the jobs, there's a couple things. One is, I think that kind of takes care, that will happen naturally. If you're hiring somebody, it just makes sense in terms of them being able to show up on time that you are hiring them locally. I don't know what I've dealt with this in the past. I don't feel that I'm an expert to speak about this, but there's also laws in terms of discriminating about where somebody comes from. So you got to obviously work within those parameters. So we would support our tenant and encourage them to hire locally. I'm just not sure, legally speaking, that we can require them to do that.
No, you can't. But you can say things to the effect of, an applicant from Newburgh gets
of course,
so to speak.
Yeah.
I think that's very important and has to be included in your application. Obviously, I think the larger issue, and you can take this with you and chew on it, is that we all agree, at least I do, and I think most of us would agree, that it would be a transformative project for that block, that area, especially William Street. It's a tough block right now, has a lot of problems all the time, and hopefully, the more the development happens there, the more the neighborhood can coalesce around that. I think that's a noble goal for anyone. I think what's important here is what's reflected in your numbers that actually show up in the application. And if 100% of your tax liability is spread over 15 years in your pilot, I know I can't vote for that. I can't speak for the other members of the board, but you have to consider that in your application.
Well, our application's already been filed, but obviously we're open to discussing it with you.
Sure. No. As I said, as you revise and move forward, I can't vote for that. That's all I'm saying.
Have you seen the application?
Are you referencing the one we have submitted?
Yeah, over the totality of 15 years. Yeah. As it stands right now, I could not vote for that.
Obviously, this is the first time that the whole board gets to have a conversation with you, and this should be open to this form of dialogue, right? We hear your point, you hear ours, we have priorities, and hopefully if there is any path for this to actually become a thing, then it falls within what is within our duty, right? You're creative, right? So that could mean anything. But I would say for now, I'm very thankful that you came and talked to us and shared some information, gave us the vision. I think it's important. And I do agree with Mike that it would be transformative. It's a very visually appealing and beautiful site. So, there's that to say. But I also invite anybody else to maybe add or ask more questions, or I think I don't have any more questions so far. I'm taking a lot of this in, but yeah, I open it to anybody else that does. Yeah. All right, so unless you have any further questions, I like I said on the email, Eric, right? I think so we corresponded a little bit. I always invite you to go through share, and we'll take it from here. And
So I'll just say that this was like a general introduction.
Yeah.
We'll review the board will continue to review the application, the cost benefit analysis, and then I'll circle back with you as far as what the next step will be.
Great. Okay. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your time.
guys. Yeah.
thank you.
One last point, just sorry before you go. If and when you revise the application, if you could make it more clear what you're doing with the rent, whether it's market rates, tied to AMI, something like that, just flesh it out a bit more.
Sure.
So just to be clear, are you asking us to revise the application? How does the process go? Like, this is an informal visitor, so is this a formal request to revise the application?
Well, you could submit it as it is, and we could vote on it if you like, or you could revise it and resubmit it.
Okay.
That's entirely up to you.
So usually, the way that this usually happens is that you submit, the board will digest it, and have comments for you. So I think the way that we can move forward with this is that I think maybe not everyone, especially the new board members, have had time to review your application. So, let's give some time. I think also they might have some questions as far as how the chain of events usually happens. The way it usually works is you submit your application, the board will have any questions, we can go back and forth on clarifying any of that. The next step would be to have a resolution to have a public hearing for the benefits that you've requested and allow the public to comment as well. And then from there, usually the board makes a formal decision on your application. Right. So, sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the part that I'm just trying to understand. So the part where we have a conversation and this back and forth questions, is that, do we need to resubmit our application before that, or can we have that and then?
I would say at this exact moment, your application has been submitted, just recently submitted. Yes. The cost-benefit analysis has been submitted. So unless there is specific comments regarding any part of your application by the board members, then I just think it needs more time to be reviewed by the rest of them. And then the next appropriate step would be then to have the public hearing. So that could be something that we could be voting on for the May meeting. I knew that was too premature for this meeting. You literally just submitted it. So we can be in contact for the May meeting and possibly having a resolution prepared for the public hearing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're asking if you're going to have a chance to maybe address some of the questions that we have. So you should. And I would say, yeah. So within the time that Cher is breaking down the steps, we have an open line of communication where you take this information, you also digest it, and then you make some changes if you want to, obviously, right? But yeah, so this would be an informative conversation where you can go back and rework some items if you really need to, and you do want to submit ultimately a strong application that just leave it at that, right? A strong application. Not that it's not, but what I'm saying is you take information in and you work from there.
Fair enough. The one other thing I think I'd like to note is that the property will be, we'll be paying over $50,000 in taxes like from day one, like we already are. I don't know if maybe it came across that it's starting at zero. No, you knew that, okay. Which we think is, not an insignificant amount of money. Like it's a, sizable amount of money.
Yeah.
Especially for a property that has not paid any taxes for 200 years.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. So then we could either move to executive session right now or the old business, right? Old business, okay. So moving on to old business, which is the readoption, resolution number 202204-1802, which is the readoption of the audit for 2021.
Yeah, I'll just add that I just noticed an error, that the figure was missing, and so this just accounts for the figure that was missing.
So we're going to need a...
I move to approve Resolution 2022-4-1802.
And I'll second.
And we're gonna need a roll call.
Second. Okay. Marlon Ramos?
Yes.
Christina Amano is absent. Michael Kelly?
Yes.
Adam Pollock?
Yes.
Gregory Nato?
Yes.
Teresa Priester?
Yes.
And Robin Yanya Pearson.
I think I want to abstain because I don't know enough about what this document is.
Okay.
So noted.
Fair enough, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
do we have a second?
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.